And welcome back to the analyst desk after Na'Vi pick up the series win 2-0. We're going to close out this series by taking a look back at some of the highlights, as well as picking out a couple of specific rounds to talk about. But we just heard that from Xiao, pretty much went as expected, basically implying they knew exactly what was going to happen from their opponents, and they were able to answer, especially on something like Ascent.
Thank you, Ender. So, I was actually very happy when I heard Xiao mention that the Sage was picked for attack side and not defense. That's actually reaffirmed what we have been talking about on Ascent. But let's talk a little bit about Fracture, because there was some insanity happening here. Like, I was very happy to see Yoru being picked. It's the first time ever we have it in VCT EMEA, and now we only have 3 other agents that weren't picked, and that's Phoenix Yoru did not picked, and Chamber and Reyna, and hopefully that last one stays that way.
Yeah, with any luck. And also, I think all things considered, seeing Ed on the Euro didn't look that bad. Was it as maybe as accomplished as maybe what Forsaken's been doing? Absolutely not, but he was fitting into the puzzle pieces that they were trying to put together. It sounds like they just sort of did this on a whim on a day, and the fact that seeing Ed sort of fell into it and still was able to have some form of impact was nice. It wasn't amazing, but it was decent considering the circumstances.
Yeah, I would say that there were not many set plays being in place for the Yoru in the composition, because as you mentioned, for Forsaken, I was actually speaking with Forsaken a lot when it comes how they approach the Yoru in compositions, and it's typically a set figure, you know, in an execution. Here it would look like it was kind of slotted in. We have seen some cool plays with a Fade ultimate to cut off the noise so he can TP behind people. There was also being tried with a Omen Paranoia to cut down the sound as well. It's kind of similar to what I said about Sage on Ascent actually, when it comes to that.
I have a question. Out of 10, how would you rate Cena's Euro?
I will answer very politically correct. So I would say that Yoru can be played in various different ways. He's very flexible.
Let's give it a 7 out of 10.
You can play it the way you want it because of a playstyle. So I would say that CNET in his own playstyle played it well.
The thing that I appreciate, Xiao actually explicitly called out, I tried to poke the bear a little bit about the experimentation, the cooking, the approach to compositions, and he said it is not an experiment. They trust individual players. If someone has an idea, they're going to explore it. And then he was quite brash, and it worked. It did. Okay, so now listen. I've got 2 rounds prepared that I want to watch from sort of beginning to end, because I think they kind of capture a snapshot of how this entire series played out. Let's start with round 3 from the map that we just saw. Ultimately, we'll end in Angel clutching this one out. But listen, Lothar, talk to me about like the trades, the setups, the smoke that came in a little bit late as well.
Yeah, I was like watching this round, I was sitting, oh, they're playing very patiently and smart, because when they get this site, the spike is stuck right now on long B, as you can see. But they're not pushing over like to the side with the spike, because they know that Fade has to cross out in the open. So I was like, this is very smart and patient play, because they're waiting for the smoke to go down from the cooldown, because Xiao doesn't have it yet. So they're waiting for it, and in the worst possible moment, Fade tries to cross with the spike, and you can see the Omen smoke form right now. So this was very chaotic to that point.
A bit more frantic too. It just seems that like losing the Viper as they're going for these late lurks just seemed to throw them off a little bit. Seeing it again in this position, I don't know what Angel was doing today, because he was absolutely farming some of these clutches and the impact he had on the Cypher. He looked in great form, but it is just one of those cases of, even though the scoreline was pretty dominant in the side of Na'Vi, there were still some crazy rounds that should have been a bit more clinical, perhaps.
There were many 1v2 clutches in this game, by the way.
Yeah.
And this one here from Angel, we have seen a lot of multi-kills, and by the way, I don't know how it is possible that he just, you know, he kind of says, this round I'm playing Vandal, this round I'm playing Phantom. And it seems like even though he's playing a character that benefits from having the Phantom, he is having many confident rounds when he just sprays through a smoke with Vandal, gets a double kill, and he's like, I did a great choice. Yeah. Great choice.
Trips did a lot of work, especially when we moved over to BBL attacking. It was just like straightforward tripwise, right, on the Cypher, constantly catching BBL while they're going for like those B executes. We even saw a Trip that was like high up on A main, ready to catch like a Raze trying to like satchel through and drop. If that catches somebody in this tournament, like, that would have been insane, but as of right now, not yet. It's going to be weird to sort of see how that plays out overall.
Well, ultimately, Na'Vi come out with one. We got one more round that I want you to break down on the telestrator for us. Talk a little bit about things that you noticed and what can we learn from how Na'Vi picked this up for next week's games.
So this is kind of a similar vibe to the round that we just broke down on the desk, because there's a nice idea behind this round, but the execution fell a little bit short for Na'Vi. So what is what they're trying to do right now is they lost 2 players on the south part of the map in the spawn, but fortunately the spike is on Omen over Dish. And the idea is that they are trying to gather the space from Dish with 2 characters that have mobility utility built in them, so they can be a little bit more confident in the way they approach the round. So when we're gonna play the round, pay attention to Yoru TP that is gonna go towards the stairs. That is the very important part of this round, because he's gonna clear the entire site and then use his clone while he's gonna be on the stairs to clear a main. Then Breach dies from Omen on Dish, and now this is the moment where the Yoru TP, the second one that is going to be put into CT, actually pays dividends. So right now we can't see it because it's in the smoke, but it goes through next to Raze. Raze sees this TP, and now she's going to be paying attention to it for the duration of the round, which allows the Omen to gather the space again from Dish and TP onto site and use a double shrouded step to get into position to plant. But unfortunately, when that will happen, the diversion works, the fake TP makes the Raze go back into spawn, which clears the space for the Omen to go onto the site. But unfortunately, the indecisiveness when it comes to the position of the plant is gonna be the demise for Na'Vi. As you can see, double shrouded step, he was in safety, but then plants for A main because of Cypher in Yoru's position. But we have seen an answer from BBL in form of a Brimstone Molly that was being put in the corner, which just killed the planter. So the plan was there. I really liked the execution. The problem was that they just planted too late, and that allowed BBL to just foil this entire complicated plan with double mobility being used with just a single molly.
Right, so they ended up losing that particular round, but ultimately Na'Vi come out with the win. I want to go back to a quote that we had from Angel, the interview with Yinsu. I want to ask, why so hard? Was this series hard? Was this series made more difficult?
Yeah, it's like, even if you look at it on paper, I think it was Na'Vi were 7 out of 8. They'd be in 5v4 situations, they'd get the first kill, and they'd comfortably win out a lot of those rounds. But then you watch like the round 3 that we highlighted, where they were all caught by the lockdown over on Ascent, where they were like dropping the spike and Angels TPing back and forth trying to get into a spot because the spike was like left on A. It was a couple of moments where it's like, it looks good on paper, the results are good, beating BBL on Ascent are fine, but there's just some rounds that it's like, if any other team made these mistakes, we'd be absolutely clowning on them.
All right, so unfortunately, this time round, getting a little bit away with it. Let's take a quick second to talk about BBL. 0-3, haven't picked up a series win. This was relatively close, but ultimately it felt to me like Na'Vi were always just one step ahead, had that extra step. What's your takeaway from BBL and how they performed today?
Well, I would say the expectations on Ascent were very high and were not met, and I feel like they didn't read Na'Vi on what is the game plan. Like when they saw the Sage, they didn't come up with a counter to it. Like the boosts that were happening in A main, B main, were always like catching them off guard. But still, I would say that they look way better than they looked in the previous year, and because of that, I do hope that they're gonna pick up more wins in general.
Vitality Giants for the next 2 weeks, though, for BBL. Like, that's tough. That could be 0 and 5 easily. Like, Vitality have already shown a bit of weakness with losing to Foot yesterday, but those teams are going to be fired up to try and get back into form. Na'Vi now looking in control, and the one good thing for BBL, their Ascent being as good as it was, now being beaten, are they going to go back to the drawing board because it seems the teams are starting to get a read on them?
Well, the map pool from them is still a little bit, let's say, short in options.
I mean, look, Na'Vi executed it well. We heard the Sage, it was picked for attack. They made it work, taking down their opponents today. That does it for Series 1. We're going to head over to Fnatic, taking on Team Heretics in just a moment.
For this core of Aspas and Sadaf, they've only ever lost to 2 squads, and it does not look like Fnatic are going to join that elite group.
We knew it wasn't going to be easy to close out the series. Maybe didn't think it's going to be as difficult as what it was.
The only thing that was going to make us lose were the things that were making us lose on the other 2 maps. Over peaking, bad decision making, not playing together.
In my head, it was more like, I don't want this to happen again.
I mean, the crowd, yeah, they were
Every time Loud got a kill, it's like they're screaming. The whole stage is shaking.
When you, in your own mind, know you're letting the series slip, the crowd's response just serves to
Actually,
heighten
no, I
that.
was kind of believing that it would close out fairly simply. I didn't think it would go to the 5th map, but it did, so.
Fnatic are forced to force. They need a miracle.
I wanted to risk a 10-4, but yeah, we lost that one and we ended up going 11-3 anyway, and we had to do another force as well.
Yeah, we won one of the forces, and we're kind of feeling the momentum. I think that's when Durka clutched, right?
Looking to put it on series point. Damage done though, Durka, that's good. Fighting his time, Icebox, a bit of spam will do it. Gotta reset the angle.
Like, yeah, he won the round, but we still have 8 more to win if we want to win the game.
On my way.
Never give up.
8-11, we're really starting to obviously believe. We've done it round by round, and it's like, oh sheesh, like the comeback is really on now.
If I dash in and get a kill during the harbor ulti, that might help us. I go to the wall thinking, okay, this should be a free kill, and even Bolster says to me, oh, Derke, I like this.
Nowazine might be earning that kill, but Durka is doing so much, goes down. Oh my God.
The most important thing that you need to do is just don't think about that you're close to win.
One of the greatest comebacks that I have seen on Icebox.
Whenever against ecos, the worst thing for me is like, what if one of those sheriffs gets a 2-bot? Like, it happens in scrims so many times.
The stack is...
Alpha clutch.
It's all down to Alpha yet. Noise everywhere, the double swing!
We all start screaming.
I remember looking to my right and I just see Dirk and and I was like, who's he shooting?
As soon as they open the Viper, I'm like, yo, there's a gap. And I'm just double scoping into it, waiting.
Big flash play through and it's a collateral!
I mean, easy PK from me.
So I looked at Sue, I gave her a little thumbs up or a little wave, because I knew that we'd won. We made a kind of historical comeback, which was kind of cool, especially in the grand final as well.
Fnatic, they pull off the impossible!
That genuinely was one of the most amazing best of fives I have ever seen in the history of any game, in any esport, let alone in a final. Obviously, Fnatic are going to be taking to the stage today. Let's take a look at their roster and make it very clear that Althea is back. Fnatic are now in full power. And I'm immediately going to open up and say, does this make everyone else quake in their boots?
Oh, it should do. There might be a bit of an adjustment period because Alpha just coming back into the team might be a little bit more awkward depending on what they've been scrimming. But yeah, full power. Alpha especially had a really good run at lock-in, but none better than the sort of final moments, the final clutch that we saw just in that clip. It's just, it perfectly emphasizes that he belongs amongst the players like Leon Chronicle that are absolute S tier in this region.
Ryan, I believe we actually have a fantastic collection of clips highlighting some of those moments. Lothar, I'll come to you right now. Talk me through some of these moments, and also then let's zoom out and talk about Fnatic as a whole. They're now at full strength, and they're looking to go 3-0 on the day.
You know, it's funny is that Alpha, I would have never said that he's gonna be the player that's gonna be playing on the Sentinel role in Fnatic. He is such an aggressive player that you can never predict if he's actually gonna push you or not in those positions that where a Sentinel player should be playing a little bit safer. So he's actually kind of unique in that sense. And those double kills, like the kind of movement that he has, he's always trying to get a micro advantage just by having those little steps and, you know, cutting the corners to isolate the angles for himself. So it's very impressive the way that he plays. His playstyle just fits so well to Fnatic.
And I want to take a moment as well just to highlight Kamek because he had a great performance last week. The Phil player has to come in for everybody. And I just want to really celebrate because he's a part of the reason Fnatic won both of this.
It says a lot about like not only Kamek coming into the team being able to fill this spot, but also the coaching staff like Minnie and SLK, the assistant coach specifically, works with trying to get Alpha in a better spot, like individually get Alpha better at lurking, for example, or get Durka on these angles where better up in positions, like working with them individually to help them grow their own game. The fact that Kamek goes into that squad so well, I think it's down to the rest of the team making sure that Kamek is up to speed and slotted into that team perfectly.
I want to move us along very quickly just to introduce their opponents today. Heretics, let's talk about the roster, talk about the results from last week. What do you think they are going to be feeling coming into this? There is an opportunity, look, silver linings here. Alpha may not be as practiced with the squad, but it's still going to be an uphill battle here in my estimation, Lothar.
Well, maybe it's even better for Heretics to actually play against Fnatic now for the first time when they play again with Alpha, because of the factors of like changing, swapping players again. So this might be actually a blessing in disguise for Team Heretics, and they're coming off, let's say, from a high moment because they won against Carmine Corp pretty decisively, and even though the caliber of the opponents is like not close, I would say, I feel like Team Heretics should be coming with a nice attitude towards this match.
I think an element of that is going to be like Heretics are going to be maybe a bit tilted with like last week their win over Carmine. They looked good, but everybody was talking about Carmine looking awkward. And
they lost the series, it wasn't won by Heretics, that type of
so
thing.
Heretics would be sat there going like, we actually did a really good job at anti-strat in Carmine on Split, which said, well, we know where that went. It went somewhere I don't even want to follow.
Anti-stratting what?
Yeah, it was just, just a little bit of pressure in the right areas just had Carmine fall completely apart. And Heretics, this is a squad when it comes to their history of like being on G2, for example, Mixwell, Kellogg's, Avova, even Zeke, when they are absolutely firing and winning series, they look good, but when it looks bad, they can fall apart a little.
So I think we do actually have a little bit of B-roll from that Heretics split defense. Let's bring that up on screen and talk a little bit about it, and then I want to expand into the map pool and talk about, there is a wealth of information that Heretics can learn from. Before we get to that though, Ryan, talk me through some of the clips that we're seeing here.
I think the stuff that I saw about this that was good is just the proactivity, Zeke breaking the camera, there's so much pressure here, and all of this control in A main. I don't know about you, Lothar, but I feel it's such an important area for the defenders to hold on to now. We're seeing a lot of Cypher cameras being put up there. It seems that one of the places that the attackers want to try and grab pretty early on, and Team Heretics held it down, but they're also aggressing on B, which was one of the aspects cut through Carmine Corp's like default.
Yeah, I agree, but the thing is that the most important aspect of Heretics on the defense was the patience that they had. They were literally just holding angles and not spamming any of the utility unless they had to, while the opponents in KC were just dry picking a lot of the operator angles, a lot of the possible like angles that could have been clear with utility. With Gecko was never used. There was even one round that I vividly remember when Shin had his ultimate on the Gecko on a cooldown that was like 2-3 seconds away, and he jumps into an operator and just dies before using it. So I would just sum up that Heretics played Split very patiently. It paid dividends, but this is not going to be the same team that are going to be playing today against, and just the patience will not be enough to win a map against Fnatic.
The next question I'm going to ask you is, we're about 30 seconds away from the map, Vito. On the side of Heretics, they haven't played Bind, Breeze, Fracture, Haven in the last 3 months. But when you look at the other side for Fnatic, a wealth of maps from both Lock-In as well as EMEA. So there is information, there are things that you can review and try to prepare for. With a week to go, with looking at Fnatic exclusively, what do you want to see from Heretics, both in the map veto and prioritization for this series?
I think it's not falling into the trap that we saw from BBL just now, where it's if we ban out this map, they're going to exploit us on another map that we're poor at overall. You'd expect for Fnatic their ban to be Pearl, because that's what it's been consistently with Ryancentral, like we spoke about that before. But Heretics, not really too comfortable, but it makes sense that they pull out the Haven, because that's Fnatic's main pick.
In general, it's like also unfortunate for Heretics because they tried playing Pearl this year the most out of all the maps, but they actually lost twice on it. So it's maybe also a blessing in disguise that Fnatic's permaban nowadays is Pearl, and it's just gonna take it out of the map pool. But the first pick, Icebox, that's something that Heretics was batting in the past as well.
And in this side, 3-0 here for Fnatic in the last 3 months. Only one map here for Heretics. They did win that, and we obviously saw that fantastic end to the series just a few minutes before the series began. For Fnatic picking up that game 5. It's going to be Ascent locked in here. Taking a quick look, win-loss 0-1 for Heretics in the last 2 rounds, 2-1 for Fnatic. Ryan, what do you make of this?
I mean, yeah, there's been some like good stuff from Fnatic overall. It was looking decent up until their loss against BBL last week, which they sort of really couldn't get onto the right foot. They were looking very uncomfortable. Fnatic banning out Split is pretty interesting in itself as well, that they want to sort of usher these maps away. But this should be a map pool that is comfortable for Fnatic, but the Heretics win against Carmine last week was pretty good and comfortable for them before we even talk about like the Split pick.
Yeah, I think it makes sense banning Split for Fnatic because they played with Kamek on Split and he didn't look comfortable, and they were actually saying that Split is not really that prepared when it comes to the defense. So banning the great map from Heretics from the last week really makes sense. But I wanted to go back a little bit to the ban from Heretics on the first choice. Haven really makes sense to ban against Fnatic because of how Fnatic plays aggressively on the defense with the jet dashes, breach stuns together. But the problem is then you open up Icebox, which is definitely not a map that I would have liked to pick against Fnatic.
What do you think in terms of how these teams are going to approach Icebox? Because when I take a look at how the respective teams win their rounds, the majority of rounds won for Fnatic are on the defense, whereas over on the other side for Heretics, the majority of their rounds on Icebox are won on the attack. So theoretically, mishmash of styles or preferences. What do you make of that?
There was also the fact that we have seen Heretics play with a harbor pick in the past, and that changes the dynamic of the entire map because you don't have an very safe plant like with a Sage, because Cove still can be easily destroyed by a spam, and Fnatic for sure knows where are the planting spots that typically an harbor will go for, so those can be easily counted. So I would still say that the win condition for Heretics will be attack, but they are now facing an opponent that is, as you said,
yes,
very, very efficient at defense, and they are great at reading the opponent's plans and countering them. Don't forget, Killjoy and Viper on this map have 4 mollies to stop a potential plant and combo that with just spamming the harbor cove.
It's also that element of Fnatic. If they're bringing in Alpha, their Icebox has always been pretty tremendous when it comes to like their form. Like it was the map that won them lock-in towards the end, the way that they pulled it back. It's not going to be super out there. We're not going to see like the Euro pick or whatever. We're not going to see anything that's fundamentally different from Fnatic because that way that they play is so structurally strong with their protocols. You can see Heretics
if it
pull out
ain't
the harbor.
broke,
Yeah.
don't fix it.
And it's so
right?
adjustable to whatever they're playing up against. They're used to it.
So, Fnatic obviously going to be very comfortable in the opening map. We are just having a small delay while we get ready to introduce the players on stage. I don't know, maybe it's a choreography thing. Fnatic trying to figure out what their dances are going to be.
I would love that.
I would love that as well. Be a lot of fun on their side. Obviously, now let's talk a little bit about agents. You don't expect any shenanigans on the Fnatic side. What do you think could come in here? Heretics, any fun things?
I'd like to see more of the Harbor. I think there's a lot of like onus there. Obviously, it's been used a lot by like APAC teams, for example. I think the only concern I had is that Mixwell was dying first a lot of the time where, yeah, he is sort of like got that duelist in him a little bit trying to take those fights, but it's just risky to lose a lot of that utility that Harbor can bring, especially in post plants where you can have the Viper wall go up. Once that goes down, then the Harbor wall can go up in that time.
Yeah, what I would also like to see from Mixwell is actually gathering experience while using the harbor, because we have seen a lot of variance in the way that he was using the walls during the executes. They were not nearly even similar to each other each round. There was always something different about the wall. Sometimes it looked on purpose, sometimes it didn't look on purpose, and that's why Harbor is such a high skill ceiling agent, because you have to practice pixel perfect walls every single time to like cut rafters in half when you're doing an execute on A. And also would love to see from Heretics, which we don't see really from any team, is more mid control. Now with like when you have an agent that has access to cascade for mid and just use it proactively to gather the space or like fake a potential mid push with just a lurker into kitchen, combine that with the Selva shock darts to clean up some killjoy utility, would open that space that is typically not guarded by many of the teams on the defense.
So listen, I've got a question for both of you, and this is now coming from smooth brain League of Legends caster. I've obviously seen Fnatic play Icebox a lot. I've seen them successful on that map. Heretics are watching the same thing, and they're going to be coming into this game with a lot of footage, a lot of concepts or angles they could explore. So how will you explain to myself, like, how do I try to understand what Heretics are doing? Have they anti-stratted? What would be some of the angles that you would like to see from Heretics in terms of coming up against this monster on Icebox?
You have to capitalize on the vision denial from that composition that they have. Like 100% you have to deny Durka's first openings by maximizing the utility from Sova, not peeking before you are certain that you're in the clear when it comes to like Sova utility like drone or arrow that clears the first angles, or use the cascade from Mixwell to make sure that you can grab the space on A side. Like typically we have seen a lot of teams dive first before they use utility if they go from the left side of belt, or even just dash up onto the belt and have no trade set up. And that is something that Fnatic really punishes. Because if they don't have any trades set up for the opponents, they will just get a 1 kill and play safe, and that's it. And then you have a huge disadvantage.
It's just not falling into the trap of Haber of your utility telegraphing what you're about to do. I also think it's a lot on Kellogg's because his first kills were really good, but he wasn't dying that much. He was finding those openings, which I think just because of this team and what Heretics these players have had in the past with G2, with Ascent, whatever, that's where they can get that momentum building and start rolling through, and that puts the pressure on Fnatic, especially with Alpha coming in. If they go, like, lose the pistol, maybe lose the bonus, 0-4, 0-5 down, that could be where Fnatic start to get a little bit rattled, because everybody's gunning for them now.
Yeah.
They're lock-in champions. Every team wants to beat them. And it's Heretics, I think after they lost to Foot, we're like, we need to sort our act out. We need to be competitors, and I think their win against Carmine was solid, but they can do some damage against Fnatic here.
I want to expand on that just a second. A quick update for everybody at home. The players are almost ready. They will be queuing up, and we'll introduce them in just a couple moments. I actually think we've got a few shots there of Boaster and the rest of the Fnatic members doing some stretches and warming up. But I will come back to you, Ryan. Build on this for me a little bit, right? Last week, obviously playing with the sub, Fnatic still win the series, but not the lock-in, champion, dominant performance that you'd want to see. How do you think that plays on their mind? Do you think they're coming in now today with Alpha to prove a point, to stomp this series? Or do you think this is a squad that just is a bit lighthearted and fun and is not going to bow down to the pressure and the expectations?
I think that latter part,
Okay,
yeah. I
yeah.
think it's, especially with like Mini, he's like, we did really well to win lock-in, but at the end of the day, it was a single elim tournament. Like, we had to go through the ringer, but now everybody's going to be looking at us. There's a lot more pressure on us to keep performing this way, but it's a league. Teams are going to lose. If Fnatic go through this whole group stage without losing, that would be insane, but we have seen some upsets, and if Fnatic do start dropping against teams that suddenly look a lot stronger or have a run of form, it's not the end of the world. I think putting more pressure, especially on Alpha today, is a recipe for disaster. They've won. Tokyo's still a few weeks away. Take it a step at a time.
Yeah, I feel like also they take it very seriously, because last week we have seen a little bit of odd choices here and there when it comes to the map picks, and that was one of the question marks of what's happening in the map pool for Fnatic, and this time we're just back to what they prefer, right? We've seen the Icebox being picked first, so I feel like this is gonna be fully focused Fnatic on just dominating the opponent, and I don't think, as you mentioned Kellogg's, I don't think they're gonna let him have the same space that he was been given against Carmine Corp, because this team has better understanding of each other's like defense, like positioning and crossfires, so Kellogg's will not be able to just isolate 1v1s easily.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right, we are still waiting for that final player to get themselves ready and jump on stage. So let's talk about the rest of the series then here. Do you think it's safe to assume here, Fnatic likely to pick this map up? What percentage odds? And then let's go further. Map 2, map 3, likelihoods of Heretics picking up a shock, a surprise. What percentage chances do you give them?
It's so hard to do it on a map-by-map basis because you just don't know what kind of Heretics you're going to get. Like, I think they're a squad that can just pull in so much, but I'm like 70-30 Fnatic to 2-0 this. And it's, again, that expectation because they're up there that they need to be winning decisively, which nobody's doing at the moment.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that Heretics gonna treat this match more of an exercise for also the change in leadership that they had in the past.
With Zeke,
Let's maybe speak a little bit about that, talk about that, because Zeke is taking over from Boo when it comes to IGLing, and I feel like the first match they played last week was a disaster when it comes to the communications. Like, it was visible that they were not on the same page when it comes to planning, but when they played against Carmine Corp, it looked really way better. Everyone kind of understood each other when it comes to like planning, and specifically on defense. I know it's much easier on the defense than on the attack to make a consistent plan, but they look actually way better when it comes to that new IGL role for Zeke.
Looks a lot more punchy. I'm scared for Team Heretics Ascent, though. They only lost it once, but it was against Evil Genius. The reason why they probably picked it is because that was quite a while ago that they've got some stuff to work on and have a plan that Fnatic might not be able to prep for because they're too busy focused on getting Alpha back in.
Well, I'm hearing that we are about 90 seconds away from the walk-ons. I want to ask a very weird question. When do you want to see a team like Fnatic experiment on a map like Icebox? So, for example, they've got their tried and true, they've got their trusted. But you're in a league, you're playing a lot of games. So when would be the time to mess around with different types of agents and compositions?
That will not experiment anymore because the map will go out of the map pool.
Yeah,
very soon.
expand beyond that. Do you know what I mean? You're in the second week of the regular season. When, if ever, is the time to experiment experiment with different picks.
It almost gives you a bit of leeway, like with Na'Vi, if they lose a series, it's
Yes.
like, oh, we're just trying stuff out. Like, Fnatic can do that, but I think it's also like, all right, we've got Alpha back in, let's just make sure that everybody sort of knows and expects what they're doing. It's just strong fundamental Valorant, and just the individual players are improving so much. I don't think we're going to see any crazy comp stuff, really.
I mean, see, that's the thing that I'm interested to see how it progresses over the next couple of weeks. Do teams go in different directions in decision making? Do we see more stuff? Does it normalize and stabilize and you see the same comps on every map? I'm not sure. Last thought before we meet the players on stage.
If they qualify already for Tokyo, they might start experimenting.
Well, there we go. That is the statement from Lothar. The players are just about ready to meet in the Coliseum. Let's head down to stage and see Fnatic and Team Heretics.
I can feel it in my blood, got my heart racing. Got the world in my sights and it's for the taking. Reapply the pressure, diamonds in the making. Got the spirit, got the vision, yeah we groundbreaking. Now we trying to take the whole thing and make it bigger.
Team Heretics.
Feeling like $1 million bucks. Living like some Living Deluxe. Feeling like $1 million bucks. Living like some Living Deluxe.
And welcome back to the Analyst Desk. As the players do their final huddles and prep to take to the series, we're going to jump into the agent select here. One thing I will say very quickly, one of the producers here for the show, Kevin Bell, used to work with him on League of Legends. I believe he had a heavy hand in picking those team anthems. And I'm wondering if people think the anthems match the players. That's the question I have. It's not for now. Maybe we'll discuss it in post-plans. As we're about 15 seconds away. Okay, let's go. Expectations. Are we going to see exactly the same compositions that we've seen in the past? Ryan, from these two teams.
Yeah, I think for Heretics, I want to see if they're going to commit to playing the Harbor, just dedicate to it more, like Lothar said, making sure that those walls match with the ideas. If they're playing up against an eco round, they've got better weapons, have wider walls that allow a lot more space. For Fnatic, let's just see this team lock it in again and show us that squad that ended up beating Loud in lock-in.
Fully agree. I just hope we're going to see... Wait, Zeke on Harbor? Am I saying this correctly? Wait, what is going on over here? Well, we'll see. The others just hovers and they're trolling us. Yeah, seems like it.
Well, waiting to see what actually does get locked in here, at least as far as I can see on the Fnatic side. No surprises just yet, nor on the other squad. So, with everything set here, we've talked a lot about expectations in terms of Team Heretics winning the majority of their rounds on the attacking half. Can they bust through Fnatic, who are extremely good on the defensive half? Players to watch, Lothar, where will your eyes be focused?
I will be looking at Team Heretics and not maybe one player, but I would like to see Kellogg's take aggressive space on the B backside, like going towards Snowman with the help of Mixwell's utility there. I think this is one of the crucial pieces of the map that has been controlled by Heretics on attack.
Yeah, I'm watching Zeke. He's the IGL of this team now. He had a really good form, 245 ACS playing up against Carmine. So he's not only leading well, but he's performing well. If he can keep that going, Heretics at least have a chance to make this competitive, I think.
It's going to be difficult, though, coming up against
for
this
sure.
squad of Fnatic. My eyes are definitely going to be on Alpha, seeing how comfortable he'll be back on stage. He missed last week, of course, but Fnatic still picked up both series. We're moments away from going to the caster desk. Thank you so much for sticking with us through some of these delays and these pauses. And once again, let's take a look here. Fnatic favorites coming into this one. And production team, are we ready to head up to casters? To find out from them in just a moment. I see the end of their waving. Yes, they are ready. All right, great. So let's head to the caster desk where Quickshot is standing by with Dez.
Thank you very much. Quickshot on the guys. Back into these hallowed halls we step. Icebox for Fnatic. What a surprise.
Yeah, you're Dez. I'm Quickshot, of course, up here on the desk, too. It's a lot of fun. We get to say it. And before we get into anything, I have to address what I'm wearing, because I already see you guys.
He looks so cuddly,
I'm so cuddly, but it's like you stole this from your grandma, you know, whatever. No.
It's
one of my best
fabric.
friends in the world made this for me.
Oh, that's cute.
Handmade this for me, so.
There is a lot of fabric like floating through the air, though, and that's a slight problem.
It's getting all over the place. But, you know, if you breathe it in and you have to sneeze, just make sure you hit the mute button. No one wants to hear that.
Need to get that Viper gas mask on the go to keep themselves safe. But yes, big one stepping in, as we've already said. Fnatic coming back into a map that we all know they play ridiculously well. This is the map to beat the lock-in champions on. If you really want to make a statement, can Heretics do it? They won it last week.
I mean, it would certainly be a statement. I think that leaving it open when you're playing against Fnatic is a statement of its own. That is a bold move, if ever I have seen one. So we'll see what exactly Heretics can get cooking up here, especially starting over on the attacking side into Fnatic. Because we've seen like Fnatic's just mantra on this map. It's so hard to actually attack them through mid. Alfier now back into the roster, slotting on to that killjoy for them, controlling mid, controlling tube. That's his entire job, and you better believe he has been itching to get back on the stage.
Yeah, the fact that they've had such a good start as well off the back of course, having Kamek step in for them. Now that Alfier is back on side, back to full form, back to full strength, and hopefully going to have a very dominating performance here against Heretics, a team that we've spoken about a little bit backstage as well. You know, heaps of potential is a really good way of summarizing them, but not always fully realized.
Yeah, you know, sometimes we see there's a lot of talent on this roster. Sometimes players trying to do so much on their own, right? Kellox is a guy that can look so insane at times, will take really high-risk moves, sometimes paying off in a big way, other times maybe not so much. And I actually think that of all the ways to play against a team as diligent, as consistent as Fnatic, having a big swingy player like Kellox in your team is something that could, depending on the day, be a big factor in you putting up a good fight.
And just to address it head on, there is a small delay before we get into game. We'll keep you guys updated on the progress of that one once we come to know more. But again, you look at how this has all started out. Na'Vi earlier on, of course, winning out 2-0 as well. It felt like we started to see, you know, when we win here as well, we'll start to see that form start to come into play. Everyone's expecting Fnatic, Na'Vi to be our top two teams. The next four really becomes the big question. So for Fnatic here, you win this, you're up 3-0. That feels really, you've already got the head start you want in this stage.
Yeah, Fnatic would be feeling very comfortable. I also think it's maybe worth a discussion because last week, of course, you were playing over 5 days. Teams had to prepare to play 2 separate matches with not a lot of footage. I think there's a lot to be said about coming into, you know, regular weeks now where you just have one opponent. Heretics know they're going against Fnatic. They probably knew they're leaving Icebox open, so that is definitely going to be coming into play. So Heretics will have been practicing all week to face off against Fnatic on this map. And that's why I'm really excited to see, especially early on, what they have in store for us. Because already, you know, we've got the Harbor comp coming in here, Harbor plus Viper, which is an interesting spin on things. A lot of teams have been going this route on Icebox. Fnatic still sticking to the tried and true with the Sage. But one of the things you can do with the Harbor that I think is so unique on this map, having that second smoker, is you can play for deeper control, especially over towards the B site, right? Heretics are going to throw that default Viper wall towards B all the time, and you can use that first Viper wall to take space towards the site, then drop it, throw a Harbor wall that goes very deep towards Snowman, and potentially play to get more forward control back of Snowman, which is a unique way of playing and gives you a better way of holding on in the post plant. That's not the easiest thing to do because one of the things that you often see paired up with double smokes is something like a Sky, some kind of flash initiator for the team so you can fight through your own smokes if you want to play for that more forward control. They're, of course, electing to send Zeke onto the Sova, which is not surprising on Icebox. This is a map where a lot of teams, Fnatic included, will drop the flashes. But one thing that I maybe think is slightly absent with these double controller comps.
Yeah, the lack of the flashes is the big one to look towards, I guess. But in your opinion, is that because they're leaning so heavily into the smokes and the walls?
Yeah, I mean, I think really the question is, are you rocking Sova or are you rocking Sky? I think Sova for the drone, for spotting out early offers, that is so incredibly powerful. But the Sky does give you more ability to fight forward through your own walls, and especially for clearing early on. Once you lose the drone, I think a lot of the value Sova offers can dwindle quickly.
Well, small delay before we get into the game, but let's take a look at the last time Fnatic played against BBL. Some of these have a look over. I thought we were cutting out a video there, but you get to talk all about it and to talk me through it.
Yeah, we get to have a little view. I mean, it's really just a Durka montage is what it seems to be so far. Actually, it's Fnatic getting smoked a little bit on this first map. Of course, they were playing with Kamek, substitute coming in for them while they were trying to get Alfier over here. And one of the rare map losses, right? Fnatic went all of lock-in without dropping a map until the finals. So nice to see Kushner and BBL give one fantastic fight, especially here, opening things up on Ascent, where Fnatic didn't really get that many rounds. I think 6 at the end of the day, which was not all too good, all things considered. BBL had a couple of really insane individual moments they were clutching up in these rounds.
It's more to South of Fnatic, you know, it's sort of inevitable. They'll still battle their way back in, as we've seen time and time again. But the story we saw coming out the back of last week, you know, you look online, everyone's talking about saying EMEA, anyone can beat anyone at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, because we still have yet to see someone actually finish off Fnatic, right?
Yeah.
That's wait, I'll let you say anyone can beat anyone when someone actually takes the series off Fnatic.
But we can see they can bleed, right?
Sure.
That's the big thing.
Sure. And there wasn't much bleeding back at Lock-in, that's for sure. This split map was also really close. I think you had a couple of rounds like the one previously where Boaster's TPing on top of the wall where he's trying to get a lot done with not a lot of time. And it really did end up coming down to the wire. Kamek, though, I believe, on the second map looked absolutely insane. Back on Haven, I think was the second map. And just absolutely smurfed it up on the Killjoy. But today, of course, he was out on stage. I saw him hanging out with the boys beforehand. The Slug Club is here, Slicky Nation in-house.
They absolutely love it. We are into game in 20 seconds, by the way, so thanks for sticking with us through those brief delays, but we are about to get underway with things on Icebox, as mentioned. Again, gods can bleed. It's like the end of the movie 300. You're seeing that a little bit last week, but something tells me Fnatic are going to be back in force today, and they are a force to be reckoned with coming into Icebox. Let's get underway with things, Ender. It all begins now for our second series of the day. Feels a little bit like there's a lean towards Fnatic in the crowd, not going to lie.
Yeah, you look out there, the Fnatic side of the stadium absolutely packed. And already some aggressive moves on both sides. Playing down Tube to kick things off, Durka with a Sheriff in hand. And Fnatic could activate a very quick flank if they want to with those two players. I see the alarm bot go down in mid though, so I think they're going to try to retake very quickly with S5.
Yes, managed to get themselves a little flank set up in mid, expecting maybe a late split to come in. It's simply not the case though. Everyone grouped up on site here for Heretics. They have that control. Planted just inside window as well, and there we go. Away Zips. Just like Batman, back across that zip line, out of dodge, out of sight, out of mind, at least for a few seconds.
Yeah, the topside plant very exposed for lineups in the post from Heretics. Boaster good finding an opening kill here, as it does get traded a little bit. Those extra smokes from the Harbor making things really uncomfortable on site.
Good read from Kellogg's as well off towards his left, finds Boaster. This wall doing so much work, but Durka comes in, pops the head off, pops the second as well. Really starting to take control of things here, as Fnatic making great use of the Sage Wall as well to find the cover, but it's Durka to get the closing kill. Great first opening round for Fnatic on a fantastic retake.
I feel like any time I see a team draft a comp that doesn't have a Sage, that just happens in the first round. It's like, oh yeah, that's why we picked the Sage, guys. It's for retakes on defense, especially. Just so brutal, especially on pistol rounds, on SMG rounds. It's very hard to cut on through that. So nothing you can really do as soon as you lose control over 410. Like I was saying, it would have been great to play lineup, to play very deep like they were with Vu all the way back on Belt, but as soon as that wall gets thrown up, it is just completely lost there for Heretics.
Really good read from Fnatic as well, I think. You know, they've seen it a million times. The teams want to play a range up on ramp, out towards Hut, try and contest in towards the spike itself, but the Sage Wall is blocking everything about that. Great first round. See if Heretics can change up their fortunes here in what seems to be another A-hit coming in.
Just as
he has no idea.
Yeah.
Now he knows.
He's right underneath him.
I think they know. But can they find a man? Yeah, of course they can. Durka, the Angel of Death, finds his man. And that means now that they've all got to force their way in towards A. Two players should come rotating over pretty quickly from Fnatic here. One potentially on the backstab, but Torah is in B mid.
Yeah, Fnatic don't want to overfight right off the rip. Again, a couple players pretty far away. So unlike last round where they were very quickly rotating and forcing in, this round with the rifles, you want to take things a little bit slower. You don't actually want to flank and risk giving a Phantom over towards Kellogg, who is guarding that area.
Yeah.
And Heretics also playing very forward on site with the smaller rifles.
Well, I love the play here. Durka's gone up through mid to try and group up with his team. Instead, forget about Kellogg's. He's nowhere to be seen right now. They should be able to get control and find a couple of kills. He had a few start coming on through, but once again, it's Kellogg's all by himself. 4 still left for Fnatic. A comfortable round 2 win.
And super comfy, too, that Chronicle doesn't even invest the wall coming to that one. So a lot of extra money that won't have to be respent there for the Sage. Also, Chronicle was the only player, I think, that went full armor and didn't actually get that damage at all. So going to be very happy with how things went, all things considered. In terms of actually like ultimate stacking up here too, like the fact that Durka is just 2 points off of the knives means that that is the round 4 option for him, more than likely, unless they just cruise away here with a round 3 win.
Not renewing the half shields for the most part as well. Looking on the other side, full shield buys coming in on the other side.
Yeah, that'll mean this is a swing round, right? When you're investing into the heavy armor, it means in the following round 4 you will not be able to buy as heretics. So this effectively 2 rounds or 1.9, however you want to math out that. I'm not the expert.
I'm not going to math out on that.
I'll leave that to the brighter minds.
I'm sure Tom backstage is racing through it right now.
Yeah, the immortal minds maybe need to get involved in that discussion.
Well, third time looking. I think Heretics, understandably, looking to try and make things work a little bit closer in those first 2 rounds, but given the choice here in round 3 to maybe push out towards B, have opted once again to push in towards A. Taking things nice and slow, and Fnatic with 3 out towards that B side, actually giving quite a bit of space over towards Heretics to make this work. And let's not forget, that Sage Wall is not going to be as effective this round.
It's very true. The one thing I didn't really mention in the pregame is that with the Harbor, you actually have smokes going over towards the A sites. You can block off Rafter. It makes it much easier to plant the spike. You don't have to cheat your way in with the Sage. And Fnatic aren't really playing on A. They're playing heavy retake on A every single round. Durka's very far away from the team, maybe expecting a late lurk like you saw in the last round.
Yep.
So he hasn't actually rotated over here until the spike's planted. He's going to hold his ground.
Well, now that the turret's still up as well, they're not too worried about this. Now Durka should start it move over, and again, it's going to be another retake.
The timing is bad on that. The molly from the Viper coming in just a second late. If that hits, that's a kill with the shock dart if it had come in first.
But it did not indeed inside of the cove here as well. It's Bostrup nice and close, finds one, looks on towards Dice and finds the second as well. Good start on the retake, but it's not too bad in the 2 versus 2 for Heretics, who might finally have that investment in the heavy shields pay off.
Oh, already on the spike though. That's going to be at least a half stick. The Killjoy molly coming in very late, but it's a 1 versus 2. Dirk has to fight his way out. He's only got 22 HP. It's got to be a gamble.
Oh, the gamble does not pay off. Heretics finally find their way back in on that force.
It looks like for a second there, Boaster's going to be able to clutch that up, finding a couple of spam kills with the Bulldog. That being said, Heretics play the long game. I didn't actually see what ended up happening with Chronicle, if he was able to put down the wall or not. If he died earlier in the engagement. I think, yeah, he actually died with Zeke backside. So while we were watching Boaster, it was Zeke finding a 3K all on his own. The rest of his team playing lineups from very far away. So respect to him. Basically just clawing that round out for Heretics without his performance on the backside. That is a lost round, I think, for Heretics.
Classic half buys coming in, well, half shield buys, sorry, coming in. Light shields stacked up for Fnatic. I think we're always seeing that by this point, not just across Fnatic, but pretty much every other team around the world, it feels.
But because Durka did so well farming up the orbs in the first 2 rounds, he now gets to just buy the Stinger as a secondary, and that means in round 5 he has an Operator.
Who was it we saw yesterday did the same, but they had Shorty? That's all they bought. I forget who it
I
was.
remember. But yeah,
but they ran out.
Definitely see a lot of the
They
shorties.
lost the autumn there with the Shorty, like, crap.
It's always a good secondary option.
No joy to be found.
Kellogg's
up on top of screens, looks for his man, but Boaster's just far too quick on the trigger.
It's a really big gamble push right there, and that's a classic Kellogg's moment, right? Go out on your own. Maybe you find 1, maybe you find 2, but equally simple just to lose your life and put your team at a numbers disadvantage.
There we go, once again, Fnatic stuck in this retake. We've seen this 3-2 split as well, 2 on Raptors, 3 pushing in from mid, time and time again, but down goes Durka. That's not what you wanted out of that ultimate. They find nothing off the back of it, and it feels like Heretics have got that control in the 3v2.
Once again, Chronicle dies on the retake there, so no wall. And actually, Elfier wasn't able to shoot that molly either. He's going to try to throw one of his own nanostorms to zone away these players. 2 players playing on the ground, only 1 can swing from upper belt, but the mollies are also coming in. The round's cooked.
They bail him. Cooked is one way to describe it. Out they go. Opting for now at least to hold on to those rifles, but get themselves well away to safety. Heretics make it 2 in a row. And everything's been around A so far, let's not forget as well. You're kind of waiting on that point when Heretics finally make the change over towards the other side. That's what we've seen Durka holding on for time and time again, is waiting to see when the B hit comes in.
Yeah, well, Durka now will be able to go for the op. I'm almost positive. Actually, no. Didn't end up having enough. I thought with 2K in the bank, he would have been able to do that one, but ends up not being the case. He does switch over to the A site, so this is going to indicate Fnatic want to play a little bit more forward over towards A. They've just been giving the site, trying to play retake, but I think after realizing that now Heretics are very comfy playing those more forward positions, they're not getting the easy retake where they can quickly clear back site and run up forward, throw down a Sage wall like they were expecting, like they got in the first couple of rounds.
Been very frozen out for much of the game, Dirk. I know he had the 3K earlier on, I think back in round 1, the pistol round, but after that, has been sort of left isolated out towards the B sites and now wants to get himself a bit more into the mix. Completely understandably. Quick tech pause coming in, and I'm sure we'll get things back underway pretty quickly.
I'm going to keep my eye out. Actually, both of my eyes, I think.
Keep them in the sockets,
I'll use
please.
both of my eyes. That's more optimal than just using the singular eye. Boaster has his ultimate. is what I'm trying to say. So I can see the minimap right now. I know you guys can't, so I'm gonna tell you guys
the
what's
power
going
of being
on.
a caster.
Right now, Durka's over towards A. Boaster looks like he's running Kitchen over towards B. So what we may end up seeing is not an early ultimate out of Boaster. Usually it's A site where you slam the early ults.
Yeah.
B site, maybe not quite so often, but off of some kind of noise, especially because we haven't seen Heretics go B. If they show some presence in B main early on, he could just throw down a Viper's Pit directly on the site. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a second, we have double smokes, but that doesn't really help us so much. The only tool that Heretics would actually have to try and get into that smoke would be the Sova, which as soon as that drone is gone isn't going to be doable. And if you likely end up using drone to clear out B main, which often happens, you have no reliable way of actually getting into the pit. So I think just using that would instantly sort of funnel Heretics back over into the A site, into Durka's waiting arms.
Feeding you these updates today for free, guys. Here we are. Small audio issue that's currently being rectified, and then we'll be able to get ourselves back.
Sorry, what was
into
that?
game.
I can't hear you.
Ha 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 ha! You're too young to be a dad. Stop it.
I might never be old enough to be a dad.
Terrible.
Real talk.
What, mentally, or
Yeah.
what are we talking?
No. Look, if I'm gonna have a child, I'm gonna adopt a kid that's cracked at Valorant, and I'm just gonna support them fully to the maximum, and I'm gonna let them realize their dreams being a pro player. If you want me to adopt you, just say me smile in chat, and I'll consider it.
And you'll go back later and take down a list of names and just pick it out the hat.
Yeah. I'll
Or does
randomize
this
it.
me also need the rank to be included so you can have a fair assessment here?
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have to be Radiant. Yeah, or Iron. That could also be funny, but probably Radiant.
It's far more impressive you took someone that's Iron all the way through, though. Made them a pro. Got to a world final against Fnatic, beat them in map 5 on Icebox.
I like to imagine that I know a lot of things about Valorant, but I don't know if I have the ability to coach someone from Iron to Radiant.
Sounds like a whole new skill set.
I don't know if I have like the mental fortitude to do that. Like even if I had the ability, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemies.
What, are your worst enemies to coach someone from Iron through to Radiant?
You do realize how many Iron games you would have to watch?
Yeah.
Because you'd have to hold their hand the entire way through.
But you would see such progress so early on. Think about it. You teach them some bare basics and suddenly they're climbing.
Yeah, but then what if they don't listen?
Well,
like what if they're having an angsty teenage moment, right? Classic.
God, Dad, leave me alone.
I don't want to listen to you, Dad. Like, oh, come on.
Well, we have filled long enough. We're back in a game here as well. Audio issue rectified. Thanks for sticking with us for that one, guys. And
yeah,
there we go.
Really,
Time
production
back
was just
underway.
figuring out a way to mute us, and they failed. So
Like, man,
unfortunate.
How can we stop Ender talking? Oh yeah, get back into game. Great idea, guys. Let's make it happen.
Hey, remember when I told you though? Boaster is over towards B, using both of my eyes. That's exactly no, and he leaves. Okay, never mind.
Using your eyes, but not your brain, apparently.
Oh, this is a different setup from Fnatic. So often you'll see Alfier playing in mid and just off of Boiler dropping the alarm bot in mid. He'll change up the position of it, just like forward to backwards so that you can't reliably throw a shock dart and break that one. But this time it's actually over towards B, so Fnatic are reading that a bit. Now, Boaster is too deep towards Snowman to actually throw down that ultimate like I was maybe expecting him to use.
Well, Zeke's managed to grab his ultimate off the back of that orb as well, which can be really pivotal in this push coming forwards. Of course, got the wall split across the site.
I think they may try to open up towards Snowman here. Watch the Harbor Wall. When the Viper Wall goes down just a second before it, they could throw a vertical Harbor Wall and try to isolate off Boaster. That's exactly what they're doing. Now he's in trouble.
Now comes the push forward that you're actually looking for. They didn't know.
He missed the
They didn't
wall.
know about Leo up top as well. Didn't land it on the high ground. It was stuck on the low. They collect a couple of kills off the back of it. It looks so good as a setup for Heretics, but that one small detail, the wall being missing, lets Leo open up. And this is going to be a Fnatic round.
Hugely problematic there, not connecting on the high ground. Also, Durka instantly flying out there on the flank. I was so preoccupied watching what was going on with the walls. I didn't even notice Durka coming in the backlines, and Heretics didn't either. So they tried that play, I think supported by Zeke's Hunter's Fury too. Trying to push some players off the angles, and it just goes completely awry as their first contact in just gets shot from an angle they weren't expecting to be a possibility.
It's that wall again, as you say, and just a flank off the back. Durka well caught on that side. Just a really good collapse by Fnatic in what really could have been a bit of a messy situation, but I think Fnatic smelled that something was afoot when they didn't see an early hit coming in towards A, because those first 3-4 rounds, Heretics were on A site like a rash. 20 seconds in, they were ready to go and make things happen. So when you don't get that same level of aggression, you get a little bit suspicious.
Chronicle threw a slow orb there just to buy
Look,
it. The
that is
forward
so
aggression
cheeky.
is great. Getting the orb and also 2 kills. Fnatic with a phenomenal read. 2 rounds in a row, expecting the B hit, instantly punishing, and then now playing forward over towards A. Not just to grab the orb and back away, but to still hold those positions, go for the repeak, something that Heretics hadn't seen. 6 rounds in, it's the first time there's early aggression from Fnatic, and they carve Heretics up.
That's the difficult part. It's like boxing with shadows for Heretics as well, because the second they've turned to try and deal with one threat, they're being hit from somewhere else, and Durka, again, almost nearly finding a second side swipe they weren't responsible for. Now Leo gets one back on the other side. You'll happily play this 1-for-1 game. It's a 4v2. Feels like it's done already.
It's also crazy that the 2 players they found, all right, work on those hops, are Mixwell and Avova. They lost both of their smokes off of those opening kills. Just unfortunate timing. I don't even think those players were leading the charge. They just got absolutely smacked down.
Both hasn't got to do much here because, again, the communication is there, right? They're pushing through mid. Chances are they're rotating over towards B. So what are Fnatic going to do? 3 players straight over towards B in preparation.
I think there's no harm, really, in Heretics trying to fight this one out. Had enough money in the bank to be able to go ahead into the next one. So just trying to see what exactly they can accomplish. But, yeah, not really going to be able to happen on this one, especially with Durka once again hopping over on the flank, just straight into Zeke right here. Durka able to make easy work of that. And now, that's a couple of rounds in a row. So we just talked about how Fnatic played A aggressive for the first time. That catches Heretics off guard. Now that's something they have to think about. But now in their head, too, they're like, okay, 2 rounds in a row, Durka's flanked us into B main. That's something they're going to maybe commit players to play deeper. Especially if their Killjoy is falling on these initial hits and they don't have the turret for protection.
More for me that you come into this midfield point of round 6, round 7, where all these ultimates are starting to roll online. Of course, we've seen a couple so far. Had the ultimate out of the Sova on the side of Heretics. This time round, though, there are 3 ults available for them, including that Viper's Pit. But I think Bose has been really smart here. Has held on to it, not really seen the aggression or the chance to use it, but he's almost got it as a response if we see Avova come in with his.
Durka, fantastic here. Will he find the catch? No, Boo turns around and is ready for it. Down to 30 HP and no opportunities to get a heal, so.
Pulling out Kellogg's there, really.
But no one's ready for Chronicle here, right? It does look like Boo's re-clearing here, holding for a potential push, because maybe he was out of range to actually hear if it was a Sage wall up or something. They're worried that there could have been another player popping into this area.
Oh,
Chronicle
boy.
has a chance to find a couple here.
Oh, if you swung this at the right time as well, there could have been some magic. They got a bit of an assist coming in from the ultimate as well. He's expecting someone on Ram, but they're simply not there. They've completely ignored him, though, and he's going to slaughter 2 down from the back. That's 3, because Kellogg's also went down to Leo.
Yeah, Leo is using the Hunter's Furies off the footsteps calm, right? Chronicle's position tells him when he can slam that one. So even without a dart or anything spotting it, he just blind is able to snipe one player off. Fantastic. Now you have the late Viper's Pit as well. That's going to force... What? A shock dart kill from Leo, too. It forces them over into this angle, and Leo finds his 3rd on the round.
Beautiful overall. Just once again, clinical from Fnatic is any way you can really summarize the way these rounds have been going.
And that was a round that they're playing out 4 versus 5, right? Like, that was not the, you know, Durka superstar go kill. That was Durka, what are you doing, man? You're dead. It was fine. He got the player low. But then it was Chronicle's forward position. You know, how Fnatic adapt when they lose players early on, sort of grinding their way out of that round with a great call to use the Hunter's Fury there. Just absolutely love it. Investing 2 ultimates, but making the round virtually unwinnable for Heretics.
That's it. I mean, Heretics now staring at the spot again with 3 ultimates still online. Look to see which of those will make the difference. I think the Killjoy really is a great way just to hard force something here, but nothing yet coming out.
Leo just knows. He knows where everyone is at all times. It's absolutely nuts, these shock darts. We actually, can we check? By the end of this game, you know, Analysts ask, figure out how many shock dart like kills he's gotten or like what the shock dart damage is, because it's got to be nuts. I've seen him land 4 or 5 already, and some off of virtually no information whatsoever.
Shows sometimes that pre-place utility or the blind fire in the hope that someone is there can reward you big time. Heretics again taking this slower approach that we spoke about previously, right? They slowed things down last time on the B hit as well. It gave a lot of time for Fnatic to make themselves get into the right positions. We had Durka come on the flank through spawn as well. it just really stung them, which is why this time round they've kept Boo a little bit further back. He's watching mid, he's watching on the A cut as well. He does not want Durka coming on the flank, so that 1v1 could be the difference maker.
100%. Now, Heretics do have a lot of big ultimates, so if they're able to find an opening kill or something like this, all of a sudden there are some options, and I think they're going to play more for actual B-site control. And I think in the post plant, if they can use the lockdown, there's no flank threat of shutting that one down. There's a lot of opportunities to actually win an eco here.
That's what they can do with these kills. Boo's managed to get himself up here inside a tube too, managed to shut one down as well. Mixwell falls elsewhere, and still Boo really saying boo to a goose outside a tube until Alfia comes out behind him and gets the shutdown. Now out comes that Viper ultimate as well. This looks to be a very commanding spot for Heretics in the 3v3.
Fnatic have to fight their way through this. No scouting util. Leo has already fallen, and Zeke is finding some damage, but the shorty secondary's there always. Buy a shorty if there's a pit on the opposite side or in the round at all. Avova still having a chance now. They're not on the spike just yet.
But do they know? Oh, they know when they see him up close again. That's Shorty just doing more than enough. And Fnatic, they get the pull back into 3v3. Looking dominant so far today.
There's a challenge I want you all to do when you load up into your next game.
I was about to
press
say me
tab.
as well.
If a Viper has pit or is one orb away, buy a shorty secondary. It's just too good, man. Playing inside of that one, even if it's on the other team and you're not having the decay playing on your side, just playing close range, looking to get a 1 or 2 pump. Super, super doable. Now, Heretics ended up falling in that round, and I think even though Boo was able to find 2 kills walking up tube, if he had been able to escape or get into a position to actually use the lockdown, that would have been an absolute game changer in that. I think Icebox especially is a map where having the lockdown, not to actually take side, but in the post plant, can oftentimes just guarantee you a round win, especially over towards B. It forces the defense to either like go way too far forward and fight you into main, which is just so hard to do, or to waste a massive amount of time. And that's something that Heretics are going to be using in the next 4 rounds, right? The time is ticking. You've got to make use of this somehow, but unfortunately, I don't think they've actually used it so far this half. They'll only really have 1 cast of that unless, you know, things go insanely well for Boo in the next couple rounds.
I think we're looking at how things have been going. You can completely understand why there's a Heretics timeout here as well. Down 6-2. They have been refuted at every single push they brought in, whether it was the A hit, whether it was the B. The retakes have just been on point for Fnatic so far, and very rarely felt close in any of those retakes either. They've looked confident and comfortable for Fnatic. Again, not surprising now they're back up to full strength with their roster. So hopefully Heretics get a good game plan in here and they can figure something out, because my God, do they need it. They still got the Killjoy lockdown online as well. That's the big one we're looking at and thinking, okay, A hit, nice and tight, nice and close, good chance to make use of it. They appear to agree as A is going to be the play.
They have yet to deal with this forward aggression, so they're actually super early
Not
using
again,
a hard roll.
twice.
It doesn't matter though. Durka is finding everything and still fighting forward. Maybe a bit of a mistake as he falls, but it's an instant res.
This is it, the kind of pace you were looking for, but it's still looking dicey. They cannot find anyone. The res coming out has got him back to full strength as you caught on to, and 5v2 again. Not even a chance for Boo to get his ultimate out and drop it down because things are already falling apart.
Killjoy turret's turned off now, so
And the
Boaster
flank.
on the flank. There's just nothing you can do. Boaster knows exactly what's up.
Easy close.
That's the round. Again, the 2 rounds Heretics won, A site was donated over to them. Fnatic tried to play a slightly delayed retake in those opportunities, and Heretics fought their way through and were able to win those rounds. Since then, the turning point has been every round, it's been forward aggression, Durka just moving up in through A, supported by Chronicle Sage. And apart from the 1 round where Boo, you know, shut him down, but even then, Chronicle was there to still win it out.
Yep.
It has not looked remotely close for Heretics.
No. I mean, this is the problem as well. We keep on speaking about that lockdown. It's been 2 or 3 rounds now. They've sat on it and not made use of it. On the other side, Alfie is only a couple of points away from having it on side himself as well. You know, it's looking ropey. It's not looking like we might even see them get a couple more rounds in this half. I do fully expect that it's Fnatic to keep on marching through the next 2 or 3 rounds.
I love, too, that Fnatic have shown 4, maybe even 5 different ways of playing forward in A. Where is the Jet? Is she going all the way towards Belt? Is she playing on pipe? Top 410? All these options. As Boo finds a great opener over towards B and actually puts the turret down in front. It's a really early ultimate, but because his team is a little bit slow on the rotation, he didn't want to allow anyone to actually rotate over and shoot down this planter.
Still Leo marching forward. Chew just whenever over had a chance to open things up in the middle of the park. That's been removed as a threat. Now, maybe you look at the lockdown that came out a little bit too early because Fnatic was still rotating over. Caught, didn't even force anyone back, really, when you look at it. Time is ticking, though. Got to see a move.
Without perfect information, I understand it, but now they have to fight their way through this one. Harbor Wall lasts for a long time, so Durka trying to just drop that smoke. They have to deal with the dart. They still haven't been able to do that. It tags 2 players. That's huge. And it allows them to bust open this wall.
The wall's gone down as well, yet straight back up. Kellox hops down after dropping down and gets Durka as well. Gets his opposite man. That's what you're looking for. But at range, it looks like Heretics have finally found what they need and battle their way back in, even with that suboptimal lockdown.
Respect to Boo right there. A couple of different times now, Boo has found the openers on the lurk. That time, sniping out Boaster. And maybe that's the way Heretics need to play, right? If you're losing the opening duels over towards A, forget that. Maybe scout it out, try to force them back with some good utility, but enable Boo to lurk up through mid or through B main. This was a round 2 where I think the Killjoy setup had returned to mid with the alarm bot. So Boo was able to slip on past that one.
I think so much of that wall that came out there as well, actually.
I love this, though, because now Durka switches it back over to B. He's everywhere.
And managed to find the one. He's just kind of reading what's coming out of Heretics. They're going for a rotate back out towards mid here. A kind of untrodden ground by a lot of teams. And Tube has been a bit of a battle point throughout this game so far. Maybe even a full rotate over towards A. They're trying to catch the rotate. I think they're hearing everything as well. All the footsteps. Does Leo know? He knows. He absolutely knows.
He'll never peek in front of this turret. They have been playing this comp. They've been playing the Killjoy for way too long. Even back in chamber times. Fnatic were the first ones to really figure out how to just shut down kitchen control from the defense or from the attackers, right? Having this Killjoy just limits what you can do on the lurk, which is why when a player like Boo finds a couple of those openers, it's like insane. And you have to, challenge around A or B, but that's a big investment. It puts you really far away from the rest of your team.
Well, Zeke's gone fishing out towards A. And no one's bitten. Fnatic actually have kind of read into that as the fake and assumed there's a B hit coming in, but it's a double fake coming out here.
Watch underneath Tube, though, right? Because Alfier maybe was going to look to try find some kind of pinch.
Heretics have gone A to B to back to A again after playing off that fake that we just saw a moment ago as well. Really good read in the round, and Fnatic caught slightly out of position here as well.
I don't even think it's necessarily out of position.
No, because their retakes are so good.
And with numbers advantage, right? They don't want to risk losing a single player to one of those lurk timings. So they're playing condensed, and that's going to benefit them a lot on the retake.
Skandar coming in here as well. Should give them all they need, but Durka, oh my god, the man cannot be stopped. Almost going to find, no! Finds the third through the smoke as well. Boaster gets dropped. So now it's Zeke and Avova to hold out all by themselves as Chronicle finds one more. Leo onto the last, and Fnatic yet again pull off a miraculous retake.
Exactly what you want to be seeing right there.
They're just so good on these retakes, time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost been a while, I think, since we've seen it. It was like the first 4 rounds, every single time it was a retake. And since then, it's been forward fighting, but now challenged to make that happen over on the B site. I really like the way they played it. Playing off the Sova Dart, retaking as a team through the smoke. Durka killing everyone through the smoke.
Just horrific.
I mean, what is this?
You find 3 in the round, and it's basically done on 1.
Durka can't even believe it.
Well, Heretics have really got to buck up their ideas going into this second half because it's going to be difficult. Obviously, the one last round here in round 12 to see things out, but I think regardless of what comes out in this round, there is work to be done.
Good note there from Heretics, seeing that Leo was just 1 off of the Hunter's Fury, so that's why they combined the Snake Bite and the Shock Dart, just looking for a 1-shot on that one. Leo hears it coming in, though, so just takes a little bit of damage on that. Actually, wow, Durka really going forward on that one, and Boo's not going to have his number this time.
2 quick kills coming in as well. Big, heavy A hit coming in with a bit of pace behind it as well. But for the most part, once more, Fnatic's team are largely unbothered. 3 of them still hanging out towards B here, as this does no doubt the spike will be going down relatively shortly. But they still lose players, even in that numbers advantage.
There's a lockdown too. You have to fight forward into the lockdown. Avova has to take a chance. There's 2 players here. He can't make it happen. Alfier back on stage is going to make things easy. 9-3 on the half.
And they even still had the Hunter's Fury ready to go, just in case the lockdown was shut off. Beautiful stuff. Great half from Fnatic.
It's just brutal, because, I mean, I think Fnatic as a whole, as you expect, play smart, play clean, play good Valorant, but literally that was just a Durka half, right? You lose 2 rounds, and then Durka's like, okay, yeah, we're bored of this retake A strat. I'm just going to push every round at the start. The man literally never stopped moving after that 4th round. It was always forward A, then gets the read when it's going to be a B push, and he's just murdering them over there as well. When you have a player
it's just
that
how
can do
3
that,
times he got on top of screens and managed to get the entry and then drop away like, okay, this is free.
and then is still
free.
finding another one as they're going in. When you have a player like Durka, it just gives you all the world to play
What's he
with.
on? Like 17 and 10, he's sat on the next closest on the other side is Boo, who's sat at 9. He's nearly doubled the top fragger on the other side. That's how dominant that first half was.
And I still have to shout out Boo, because like, grand scheme of things, it was like 3 rounds, I think, but 3 rounds where he was a big difference maker. And even if they weren't winning the round, he was putting Heretics in a chance, in a position where they legitimately could have won it, right? It was him that won that round with the kill on Boaster into the lockdown. It was him that, with the Sheriff, was able to find 2 kills in Kitchen, and very narrowly, the team ends up losing out in a potential Thrifty. There were moments where it could have looked very different for Heretics, but consistently Fnatic playing smart Valorant, not giving them the options apart from Boo's heroics to come back.
Only round that felt a little bit like, was that one just there we saw a second ago? Was the wall play, as he mentioned as well? Heretics being so close to be able to just dance around it and use it to their own advantage in a way. I completely get why Fnatic have gone for that. It forces a much narrower angle for them also to fight through, but you had the left flank, you had the play from the top, you had the play going right up close to the wall as well. They had far more options to play around that wall than Fnatic did.
I think the problem with the wall was that it wasn't actually an issue with the wall necessarily. It was the fact that they couldn't shoot the Sova Dart. The Sova Dart pinged 3 times and actually hit 2 players when they were trying to work through the smoke, so they weren't able to fight the players that were trying to break down the wall or get on the spike or do anything like this. The timing of it ended up meaning that it just got broken down, at least that center section, very early on. And at that point, did not offer the protection around the spike that they would have wanted to.
All right. Second half about to get underway. What's your expectations coming into this? I mean, you know, we spoke about these comps already. We spoke quite a bit about the Harbor. We haven't really seen it come to, you know, we've seen a bit of use out of it, but not really seen it come to strong effects. Would you argue you've seen more out of the Sage or out of the Harbor in that first half?
I mean, we definitely saw, we saw a little bit from both. I think definitely the Sage with the aggressive plays. That was a little bit less to do with Sage the agent and more just how Chronicle was playing it.
Yep.
But the Sage is a pick where counter to Harbor, where Harbor wants to take more forward space with those deep balls towards Snowman, off of Raptors on A. Sage can look for shallower control, so you don't actually have to fully take the site. You can just drop the wall down, look for a plant, do things relatively easily. If anything, I'm curious what Fnatic have cooking here with some mid plays.
I mean, every single one forcing through mid as well. We spoke about this a little bit in the green room earlier. That split off towards B, split out towards A, both less than ideal. Kind of one-way angle that you give sometimes. And A just feels like a murder box. But they managed to get around it as well.
I love this. This is fantastic.
Intentional, surely.
They're going into Kitchen. This may end up being, they're actually not taking the spike with
back.
It, curiously enough. Oh, that's so cool. They hit the alarm bot right when they want to swing into Kitchen. So the Kitchen player is caught completely sleeping. Mixwell gets dinked down to 13 HP. Now Durka's in Snowman. They're wrapping around on Heretics. What a cool play from them.
And still in full control of the round as well. It's almost like they've won Icebox a few times before, Ender. Wall placement down in a good spot as well, but it kind of works against them as that spike goes down. Once again, Fnatic staying in full control.
I absolutely love it. Kellogg's trying to re-clear. That spike's in a wacky position. You can play from back fence as well. So a lot of things Heretics have to work on through. I mean, the fact you can just pop on up.
Okay. Finds the one. Can't quite find the second. Leo's the one to close him out of this too. Down to the 2 versus 2 though. Every chance is there, but Leo just cleans house.
Gorgeous.
Fantastic round from Fnatic.
I feel like every time you watch Fnatic play Icebox, it's just a little bit of a treat, because they just show you another way to take the B site through mid. I think one of the things that really defined this team early on, of course, the defensive setup with the Killjoy, but it was just showing multiple different ways to attack into this B site. So many teams just ignore mid, right? Like, did we ever see a split B hit in that first half?
Nope,
no,
not once.
Didn't happen. It's very hard to do. But just the layer there of seeing the alarm bot in mid, smoking it off, getting 3 players up tube, and then hitting the alarm as you swing, anyone in Kitchen is expecting 5 to 10 more seconds before they have to fight, and that definitely
on a great read here.
Put them in a great opening spot.
I mean, Heretics know this is coming, but then the question is, what can you do to stop the onslaught? Fnatic have looked nigh on unstoppable across all of that first half and in that previous round. Yes, they've been slowed down here, but until you see when the gun starts singing, we start seeing bodies drop. That's when you'll really start to get a feel for what's going to happen next.
All right, Durka on the opening, has to be able to get through too. Sees the first, sees the second.
There it is!
Yeah. His name's Durka.
It doesn't
He
matter.
does that.
I think even with a rifle on side, they still lose out there. That is what Durka does. In they march. This is where you're seeing the Sage come into its own as well. They do isolate off yellow, but just cannot do anything here with the pistols on side too. Going to be a cozy closeout for Fnatic.
A cozy closeout?
A cozy closeout.
What's that?
It's a cozy closeout, but I said it wrong.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say it was close. I'm like, I don't think this one's close.
That's not close. 5-1. It's not very close, no.
Yeah.
5 isn't very close to one,
I mean,
sadly,
Chronicle's close to death. 23 health.
Yeah, but so's Boo, because he's staring down the barrel of 5 guns. Bigger guns than his.
Maybe you shouldn't look at those guns. Maybe you should stay away from them.
This
Still needs to die to the spike. I actually, is it optimal to die there is Boo? I think it is, yeah.
Oh, the Sheriff on side, yeah, surely, right?
No, well, the main difference there is whether or not you die to spike, you die to the player, right? Because if you die to the spike, you don't get an orb, but you also deny an orb from the opposite side. Being the Killjoy, getting up towards the lockdown is going to be impactful. That being said, we know what Durka can actually accomplish with those knives. But I think all things said and done, Heretics, not a bad play to try and sacrifice there and try getting towards that lockdown. Although Durka will be outpacing it. And similar to the last half, we'll have that online for round 4.
In fact, you have one Jet sat near the top of the table, the other one very far down the bottom really gives you a feel to how the game has played out so far. It has been the Durka show. Kellogg's really able to make himself known or really even seen, if nothing else. Here, Fnatic maybe finally doubling themselves back away. Is this another beaten through mid?
I don't think so. It could be.
They're thinking about it.
Surely not. No. They just wanted to throw the molly, throw the orb down there. And actually, Zeke's going to use the drone, expecting that it could be a bit of a mid attempt.
I mean, now he knows. Now he knows everything. They know that there must be an A hit coming in. It could be a double back out towards B, which is why you haven't seen Heretics come springing out just yet. But Fnatic have basically got a 4v0 on site here. Outside of a couple of bits of utility, there's just the one off towards the left. And now one more rotates back in. But they've isolated basically 2 separate 4v1s here.
Boaster playing around tube here in mid. Here's all the rotations. Actually broke the dart in mid, I do believe. He turned around for that one. So Heretics may be aware of the potential mid flank coming in.
Poison's off.
But if they go on this retake, look at the position Durka's playing. This is really nice. They're expecting the harbor wall to give them protection. Chronicle finds 2, Durka finds the 1, and he can chill. He can fall back off a site. Boo can't do anything on his own, especially with Boaster coming in from behind.
Just overwhelming force coming out from Fnatic. Just when you thought Heretics had a pretty good game on this map last week, I think 13-5 was the final scoreline. Fnatic just reminding them, look, you might be all right against other teams, guys, but they ain't Fnatic when you're coming up against them. Comfortable is honestly the best way I'd describe it. I think confidence was the word we were using yesterday.
You used all these big C words.
Yeah, I'm not going to use any small C words. We'll avoid those.
Okay.
Only the big
some
ones.
average.
We've had...
Cruising.
Cruising's not bad.
Cruising. I mean...
Capable.
They're very capable. Yeah, exceptionally capable, as a matter of fact.
Confidently cruising, full of capability.
Heretics gameplay looking a bit crude, perhaps.
A little claustrophobic on Icebox.
And a Boaster, how charming.
Very good.
So charming.
See, I feel like you're cheating with that word, though.
Because it's a ch?
It's not like the k sound, yeah.
No.
But charming is a good
I'll
way
go
to
with
describe
it.
him. All right.
I'll go with it.
We'll commit.
Hold on. It's a Kellogg's moment. Certified Kellogg's round win right here. I guarantee it.
T-Tours. T-Tours. T-Tours.
All right. Yeah, Leo's been really effective today.
It's unfortunate, but that's Durka coming in, trying to show what Jets can do. Almost going himself real deep here as well, but has got to make this work somehow. Managed to get himself straight into enemy lines, has got himself up high, and now once again we got that spike going down, but it's Durka to start off once again. Nothing is stopping this man. He's 24-11 for God's sake.
Oh my God, Durka wants more every single time, just repositioning to another high position. Having a field day over on this A site, wants to play in front of that harbor wall. Mixwell chipped so low, but he can't quite find a bullet on that one. Doesn't matter. Shorty is in business for Durka.
Can he make it 26 on the close? It's going to be Chronicle to collect a Fnatic. It's over before you can even think about it. What a dominating start to this series.
Yada yada. I can't believe it. That was rough, man.
I don't even feel like I've just lost Icebox. It was that fast.
Yeah, you know, Fnatic wanted to get out of here real early, you know, have a swift day of things.
They had some late times last week, we all did, so they want to try and get this one over and done with. But again, just unbelievable at 25 and 11 for Durka.
And it was Durka with the huge switch round. I said it so many times, but just to recap, because we got to do that for you, the turnaround when they decided to stop playing passive for retake over towards A and just push up with Durka and Chronicle. Those two were unbeatable, and Heretics never found an answer.
It feels similar to what we saw between Foot and Vitality yesterday. One team's really come to the races. They're a little more decisive, not a C word, a lot more decisive, a lot more confident in what they were going for. Really, I think it comes down to the map as well. Again, it being, it's not Haven, but it's a Haven for Fnatic.
Right, yep, I'm
see how
following,
things...
I'm tracking.
We'll stick with it. I'll tell you what, let's get his brain reset. We'll go out to a break back in a few minutes.
What can I do? W. Nice. Free 7.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Showers yet, the second. Oh my gosh! This one's smoothie. Wait! I need a livers.
Zero distraction. Zero doubt. Zero opposition.
What is this from EA? He is currently unstoppable. He is just a consistent demon. El Diablo.
Hey guys, it's EA. Welcome to my course on optimal Valorant training. I'm going to be demonstrating now some angle clearing. I'll slowly come around the corner as well, making sure no one's on these off angles.